What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market, what's going on with the whole Russia and Poland situation, and how this may affect Tesla for tomorrow and the overall markets. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. The best part is any could be a free Tesla share, a free Apple share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer that has been extended for another 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Looking at Tesla, this thing was up about 1.82% for the day. We are a little bit red in the after hours, and I do believe that there may be a little bit of downside tomorrow. But overall, I do believe that it's going to be more of a kind of like choppy day tomorrow because of all the headlines coming out. So why did the market move the way it did? If you compare Tesla to the QQQ, you will notice that both of them had this nice gap up. All right. And this really shows how similar Tesla tends to move with the markets. Now, is it always exactly the same? No. You will notice the QQQ was holding up pretty well right here, and Tesla didn't just hold up, it started actually pushing up a little bit after. But then once we hit this very, very key resistance zone, you could also argue that this is like a mini supply zone. Tesla ended up getting resistance here and actually getting a small rejection as the Fed speakers came out. And the market did actually kind of downtrend just a little bit, but it wasn't that extreme in the very beginning. Then all of a sudden, we get this big sell off. I'm going to talk about why this happened because it does involve Russia and Poland. Then we got a nice bounce, and overall, the QQQ had a pretty decent one, but Tesla's was not that good. We actually got very tight around here, so it does look like Tesla's going to kind of pick a direction after that. But overall, guys, I want to talk about why the market moved the way it did first. So, what happened first, like I predicted, PPI would come out. If you don't know what that is, it's very similar to CPI except for the producer or wholesale end. And what happened was the prices only rose 0.2% in October, which is less than expected. My prediction was exactly this, that we would actually see this below expectations and the market would get a bit of a pump because of this. Now, what ended up happening was we saw the QQQ pump up pretty hard. We closed yesterday at 285 and we managed to open around 293. So big pump to the upside for the markets. The markets were pretty green to open us up. Tesla ended up closing around 190 yesterday, and this thing managed to gap all the way up to about 194. Pretty interesting to see. And we managed to push all the way up to 200, exactly like I predicted. Now, my prediction for yesterday was Tesla to hit around 200 and maybe get a small rejection off that and maybe hold this like 196 to 200 zone. Instead, what ended up happening was we got a bit of a sell off as the day went on. So, what happened was obviously the Fed does not like the market pumping. They start talking, the market moves the way it does. Then all of a sudden, we got this big sell off. Why did the market sell off the way it did? The answer came right over here. We had, unfortunately, guys, a missile that ended up striking Poland. And it's not very good to hear things like this because the first thing that people remember is the fact that this quote unquote war that's going on, it was between Russia and Ukraine. And the truth is, you can argue it's a proxy war too, but I don't want to get into any more details. The main point I'm making is it was typically between those two, right? And then what ended up happening was this missile hitting Poland is just not good at all. It did cause two people to lose their lives. Unfortunately, they passed away. My condolences go out to everyone involved. And this led to lots of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in this market. People were very, very panicky. And many people, including the president of Ukraine, stated that we must act because of this. This was a very significant escalation. However, Russia's defense ministry ended up coming out and saying that they were not the ones that actually did this. They denied their involvement, which I consider a pretty decent sign because if they're denying it, this is a sign that they want this to de escalate. And if this does de escalate, it's going to be much better for the markets. And I'm really hoping that that's the case. But right now, I can't say much because so many details are still unknown. It's going to take a while for us to get more information. It may take many hours from now, many days as well. We have to wait on more world leaders to really step up and talk about this situation to help us understand what on earth is going on and whether or not this is actually going to cool off as time goes on. Now, right now, it looks like this should cool off relatively soon, but because I don't truly know yet, because the market is very uncertain still, and if this uncertainty continues into tomorrow, with all these new like headlines coming out about it, it's going to continue to happen, guys. Most likely, it's not going to be the best for the markets, and that's why we do anticipate lots of chop for tomorrow and maybe some potential downside. Now, on Tesla, the overall short interest has been going up just a little bit, and this is a sign that some shorts did pile in, especially as of like yesterday, as of recent. They do want the market to start coming down just a little bit, especially on Tesla. So we might see this actually affect us a bit for tomorrow. On top of that, I am noticing that historically, even though Novembers tend to be green months for Tesla, there are external things that could affect us. And Wednesdays tend to be green about 48% of the time. So it's almost 50-50. The market could go either way. But like I said before, uncertainty is something that's not good for the markets, and that is likely going to have an effect on how they perform. The price price ratio is kind of stagnant right over here, which is a sign that Tesla is doing pretty decent. But I really want to see this continue to pump to the upside for Tesla to show more strength. We're still not showing as much strength as before. Now, what else is worth noting is the QQQ is actually up about 1.38%. On a day like this, Tesla should have been up over 2.5% or so. We were barely up about 1.8%, which shows a little bit of weakness from Tesla's end. Now, on the SPY, I want to now transition to SPY and the overall macros before I talk more about Tesla. We have a very interesting zone between this 195-ish to about 194 level. And this is where we see the SPY kind of ping pong off this zone as kind of like a demand zone, right? So we're seeing lots of buyers come into this zone. So this is going to be very important to watch. Now, if you look at SPY, we were expecting a downtrend as the day went on. So this is not a good sign for tomorrow. And I am anticipating that the market might actually sell off as the day goes on because of the Fed and also because of uncertainty involving Ukraine and Russia and Poland and all that. So I do believe that it's going to depend heavily on the news. If there are articles coming out that help the markets, it's very possible. But as of right now, I'm not seeing it. And I really believe that it's very possible for the market to maybe try pushing in the very beginning of the day and then start to see a bit of a sell off as the time goes on. We need to see how the SPY ends up reacting to this like 395 to 394 zone. If this thing does not hold, if we don't get a big bounce this time, if it does end up like downtrending more, we could see this retest this 392 level followed by the 390 support zone. So be very careful on SPY. If it does end up coming down, this will affect Tesla, right? And the whole QQQ aspect of it too. For the QQQ, if this thing does end up coming down, we still have the gap way down here that did not get fully filled, which could bring us down to about 285. However, if we do end up filling the gap, I want to see how this thing responds to this 284 to 285 zone. We could see a bounce off that, which could end up helping Tesla. On the VIX, I noticed something that's not the best. The VIX had a crazy day today. This thing was actually like down here, then all of a sudden, huge spike off the whole news involving Russia. Then it did end up coming down a bit, but it is on a bit of an uptrend right here as the market's on the downtrend. This is often not the best of signs, at least for the very short term. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to note is the daily on SPY. Notice how you have a tendency of touching this upper trend line, right? If this whole situation de-escalates, if the news comes out that, oh, Russia's not going to be doing anything, the situation's improving, nothing to worry about, you know, that could be much better for the markets. And there is still potential for SPY to still retest this 408 level. I do believe it's going to be slower than anticipated previously, but I do believe it's still possible. It really depends on the news. But until that happens, I mean, for tomorrow specifically, we might see a little bit more downside, maybe some sideways action before we end up actually retesting the upper trend line. And if that's the case on Tesla, what on earth does this mean? The answer is Tesla's likely going to be chopping tomorrow, and if the situation does de-escalate and things really improve, then Tesla has potential to continue pumping to the upside. But like I mentioned in my yesterday video, I mentioned to everyone that, look, this 200 levels where I predicted Tesla would go, and I predicted that Tesla could get a rejection off of it because we had this very key resistance. We did come down. We came very hard to the downside. We didn't fully fill this gap here, which is kind of concerning in my opinion, as we are getting kind of tight right now. Tesla pushed up, and then the next major resistance zone I was talking about from previous historical data right here was around this like 196 zone, 195.75 to about 196. That's exactly where Tesla got rejected today. So it really shows how these zones interact with the chart. So what I think is going to happen tomorrow is we have a downtrend being respected, and we also have this gap to the downside. It looks to me like Tesla might be retesting 190, and if that doesn't hold, I mean, you could argue that we have the potential to come even lower. You could argue this is resembling a head and shoulders right here. I mean, it's not perfect, but it does kind of look like it. And if we do end up coming down, it may complete it at around this 190 to about 186 level. So be very careful right over there, guys. Now, what I'm really going to hope for is what the news ends up saying. I'm hoping for a nice response of calmness from many of these world leaders, and I really believe that the market could still get a bounce if we start to see the market calm down about this whole global tension situation. But anyways, guys, that's essentially what I'm seeing for Tesla for tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if we either get a small pump, maybe retest like 195 or so, trade kind of sideways, then we start to sell off slowly as the Fed speakers come in and more of these articles involving Russia come out. It's not the best of situations, I understand. Watch this gap fill area. It's very close to about this 190 zone on Tesla. And let's see how it responds to 190. I want to see if this thing could hold it. Break below 190, and this thing will most likely come down pretty hard to about 186 to 185 in my honest opinion. But we do have a historical buy zone around this 185 level, and if that doesn't hold, the very strong support is around 180 to 177. So I don't necessarily see 177 getting retested tomorrow. It's pretty far down there, but I do believe it is possible for us to retest 190. And if it doesn't hold this, watch 186 very, very carefully. Anyways, I'm hoping Tesla holds these levels though. It really depends on the market and the news. So remain calm, cool, and collected. I'm hoping for a nice bounce off these zones, and maybe it ends up closing very close to 190. That's what I'm hoping for. So remain calm, cool, and collected, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright despite all these crazy things going on around the world and the markets. I'm still very bullish long term thanks to the Cybertruck, thanks to the Tesla semis, thanks to all the innovation from this company. I'm still very excited long term. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.